So how in the world do you homeschool 3 kids in an RV full time? Well, we'll talk about that and some other things coming up next. Well, to be completely honest, when we first started talking about living minimally and living in a tiny space such as this RV, I was really concerned with how we were going to be able to homeschool our kids appropriately. In our home, we had so much stuff. We just had boxes and bins and books and creative materials and all the colored pencils and glue and tape, everything you can imagine that you would need for homeschooling young kids. We had it. And I had a fairly good way to organize everything in the home. I had a lot of different great organizational ideas for how to store it all in a home. I felt really comfortable homeschooling at home. But then once we decided that we would be moving into a trailer, I had to really kick it into high gear and figure out appropriate ways to be able to school in a trailer. So we're going to be talking about all of the things that we do as far as homeschooling throughout each week, and hopefully give you some ideas for how to do it as minimally as possible. All right, so I have 3 kids. I have a 10-year-old daughter who is doing 4th and 5th grade work. And then I have 6-year-old boys who are doing mostly 1st grade work, a little bit of 2nd grade. So that's where we're at as far as our curriculum goes. I'll show you everything that we have. I'll show you how it's organized, and then we'll talk a little bit about how it's actually executed in such a small area. So for the boys, they are reluctant learners. They're not incapable, but they would so much rather be outside. They like the dirt, they like to play. They're pretty typical 6-year-old boys. Now, I do have 2 extremes as far as learners. I have one who can pick up information very quickly, does not struggle in reading or anything, and he can move at a pretty quick pace. And I have one who does struggle a little bit more, and we work very hard to keep him at grade level. So I was able to pick up this book on Amazon. I don't know if you can see it clearly, but it's just a writing practice book. It's for ages 6 and 7, and it has everything to do with Star Wars, which is so great for my boys. So you can see they start with the alphabet, just remembering how to write all of their letters, getting some extra practice in, which, oh, good grief, my boys need it. All the way to the end of the book, we're not here, but they're starting to talk about nouns and adjectives and verbs and how to use them and where to place them in sentences. It's really great. So if you have a little kid that's interested in Star Wars, this is for 6 and 7, I would highly recommend this, even if it's just for extra practice or during the summer or something like that. That's a super great find. So we use that as our writing curriculum, actually. They both really love it. So that's for the boys' writing. For reading, we use All About Reading, and I can talk more about that in the comments, or I can do a different video if you want any more information on that. We did switch for my son Riker, who was struggling more with his reading. He's getting a little bit behind grade level, and I just wanted some extra help for him. This has been so great. So this is actually book 2, which is the only one that we're using right now. Riker's in the front of the book, Regan's in the back of the book. But I started Riker all the way back at book 1, and I let Regan continue at his own pace, and it helped tremendously with Riker's ability to read. He's doing so much better. They both are. They're both doing very well with this curriculum. So it has a few different styles of learning. There's some worksheets, there's some cutting, there's some rearranging letters, there's some letter tiles they can use. And it also has an app for their iPad, and I'll talk about technology in a little bit. But we really do not, can't say enough good about All About Reading. So that is that, and this big notebook down there goes along with it as well. For math, my boys are using Math-U-See, and my whole family has been using Math-U-See for, well, since Raylan started with kindergarten. We have really liked the approach that it takes. It's very straightforward. There's just not a lot of extra fun as far as the pages aren't colorful, but they're also not distracting, and they can really just understand the concepts and move right along. So they're doing very well with Math-U-See. There is a primer book, and then there's Alpha. They are now on beta, so they're on the 3rd book. They both do really well with math, and I do have to say that the DVDs or the online subscription that you can get is just such a lifesaver when you're struggling to be able to teach the concepts. You don't really have to worry about it so much with math. You see, the teacher does it for you, so you don't. That's just super great. Okay, as far as things that we do together as a family, we do our science, our history, and our devotion together, all 3 of the kids, all at one time. So our science, we just started a new one. It's called Science Shepherd. I am liking it because they have a book based on the age level of your child. So this is level B, that's what Raylan uses. And it just has some simple worksheets in it. She can fill in the blanks as she goes. There's some coloring pages, some crossword puzzles, but each day just has a few questions for her to answer. And it has some of the same questions in level A, which is the boys, but it's more basic. It's easier to understand. Some of it is just circling the right answer instead of having to write it out. And there are fewer questions in the level A book, but they all sit down, watch the same video together. Then we answer all of the boys' questions together. And then we have the boys help answer Raylan's questions as well. So we're loving Science Shepherd, very simple, really doesn't take a long time. And it is a Christian curriculum, which is also a huge plus for us. Science Shepherd. That's all of their science. And our devotion right now, it's actually up there, so I'm gonna run and grab it real quick. Our devotion that we're using is this How Great Is Our God book. It is a very, very simple, very short, to the point devotion. So there's a science component for every day. Some of them this one says elephants hiccup. And so they talk about an elephant, maybe some part of their biology, why they hiccup, but it also ties it in with a biblical concept that is really relevant to the kids. There's a prayer, there's a verse, and just some really fun facts for the kids. So I am really enjoying this. It's called How Great Is Our God. Louis Giglio is the one who wrote this. So I say buy it and use it every day. Love it. And the boys are actually doing little passports, and I also highly recommend this as well. It's a subscription kit that you can get, and every month you get supplies for another country. So far we have done Brazil, Japan, and France, and it's just super cute. They send you a letter. They send you a postcard about where they're at the time, some information about the history, some really fun, let's see what's in here, a mountain maze that they can do. There's a recipe for something that looks delicious. We need to do that. We haven't done that yet. And some extra stuff, especially for Raylan, some extra reading, some puzzles that you can do. You can try and translate from French to English, sorry. And then they give you a huge map. I'm not going to open this all the way up, but it's very large. You can stick stickers where you've been and what you're learning about. They give you a coin. So there's some really, really fun stuff in here. I also add to that, I'm really liking the Nat Geo YouTube that's called Are We There Yet? And it's kids that are going and traveling to different countries. My kids really enjoy just putting that on while they're eating lunch or something and watching these kids travel to France and going and actually seeing the Eiffel Tower and places like that. So we like that. Raylan also is doing an extra component. She's doing geography, and she has a workbook that goes along with that. So she has a little bit extra for herself. Raylan has her own planner that she keeps. I just plan out her week for her, and then she can cross off everything that she has to do. So if she decides she wants to do all of her geography on Monday and Tuesday, then she doesn't have to do it for the rest of the week. If she wants to get ahead on something else, that's fine. Or she sees, I only have to do IEW once or twice a week. that makes her week go a little bit better. But she does have plenty that will keep her busy throughout the whole week. For the boys, well, for everybody, I plan for everyone in my own planner. I know I still use an actual planner. A lot of people are digital and I'm not yet. I probably should be. But I really like having it all written down. I love checking those boxes, and it really just keeps us organized, and it works really perfectly for me. Okay, so most of the boys' stuff is all stored in this cart that I've been pulling out of, and you might have seen that on another video. I found this at Ikea. I really love it. We have pencils, we have glue and tape and a stapler and highlighters. Down here we have they're the Twistable kind of colored pencils, and you can twist them up and twist them down so we don't have so much broken lead all the time, which is great. We have the regular scissors and the fancy scissors, so you can cut with special patterns and stuff. So those are a cute little extra thing to have. Then we have the Twistable crayons as well. The boys, you know, my boys are just, none of my kids are artistic. We don't spend a lot of time on arts and crafts, and we probably should more. We're just too busy going and having adventures. So we do have these Twistable crayons that I really like, because Riker does break crayons often. He just pushes too hard, or he gets frustrated and he breaks them. He can't really break these, so I highly recommend Twistable crayons. And then down in this bottom one we have markers, and all of these little bins are removable, so we can put them however we want them, or they can just go grab a bin and take it to where they are and put the whole thing back. So that's a really good way to organize all of the boys' stuff that they have. Other than what's in here, they do have a few extra books in the boys' room video. You'll see they have some books up by their bed. So we kind of do a rest time in the afternoons. Nobody takes naps anymore, which was a really great time for me, but nobody does that anymore. So most of the time Raylan does her free reading then, and the boys are looking at books or doing education.com, things like that. So all three of my kids have an iPad. Technology is a subject that can get so dicey, and so use your own convictions here, but my kids do each have an iPad. They did use computers at our house, and we had to get rid of our computers. We just didn't have a space for them. So they do have an iPad. Raylan's, we just got her one with the keyboard case because she is doing typing for her kind of elective this year. So this has come in handy for her. She also uses it a little bit with IEW, which I'll talk about in a minute, but all of the kids do have an iPad. So they do use their iPad for math. With Matthew C, they can use the app that uses blocks in the app. Instead of having the actual blocks, they're using it on the app. And then for their reading, also for All About Reading, we can put letter tiles up with blends and with different consonant sounds or whatever it might be. And all of that is used on the app. And so we didn't actually have to pack in our trailer math blocks or the letter tiles or anything like that. It's all stored right on their app. And then they use something called education.com, which is just extra games, extra kind of worksheets online that they can fill out. I've really enjoyed the games that they've been able to play on that, and they love it. They think they're just playing games. They don't really think of it as school time. Raylan, like I said, is doing typing, and she also, some of her books that she is reading is on her Kindle app on here. And she does Adventure Academy, which we just started that not long ago. I don't know a lot about it, but she does seem to be enjoying it, and she's learning a few extra things along the way. Besides that, they do use these for Netflix, and they have games on them and stuff. So we do try and regulate the time that they spend on them. As you can see right now, she's obviously not using it. She's outside playing. So we don't have a lot of trouble with it, but this is a big part of our homeschooling, and it is a big part of why it works in a trailer, because it's just so small and we can do so much with it. So we have that. So the cart with all of the school stuff is stored at the very back of our trailer, up against the garage door and wall. so it stays right behind the chair. Nice to keep it kind of out of the way. We do have one more piece of furniture moving around here. It's kind of like a tiny little end table that we have. It's really nice because it has a place for them to put their drinks. If they want to sit at the couch and they have a drink, they can stick them in there. And then also it's where Raylan keeps all of her books. So my planner and her planner live up here. It looks like she's got a couple of extra things up here as well. And then she's doing IEW, which is Introduction to Excellence in Writing. I highly recommend that, but it is pretty intense, so get ready for that. And then the rest of her books that she's using for different things are in here as well, and they all fit nice and out of the way. So even though I'm fairly traditional as far as having actual curriculum and having it all planned out and kind of checking those boxes every day, I have realized just on the few years that I've been doing homeschooling how much more of an unschooler I actually am. So my boys don't learn like Raylan does. Surprise, surprise, my boys don't learn like my girl does. They are so much more hands-on, and they don't really care too much about learning how to read while they're 6. Now I am having them learn how to read, I am doing math, I am doing all of their, age appropriate things, but we spend a lot of time doing other things. So for the most part, they're usually done within about 2.5 hours if they put their mind to it every day. And Raylan typically is, for the most part, done by lunch, although she does choose to do her free reading. Usually in the afternoon after lunch, she'll go up to her loft and read by herself for a while. But then we have the whole afternoon and evening free, and that's something that we really crave, and that's something that we really love about homeschooling, is that we have so much free time. And sometimes we just cram a bunch of school into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, have a normal Thursday, and we take off Friday and we go and have our adventures. So we have passes to a lot of different places this year. We're not sure where we're gonna be next year, so we are trying to hit up the local zoos and Legoland and SeaWorld and Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm and the museums that are around here. We're planning on going to the Griffith Observatory pretty soon. Just trying to get up to the mountains, trying to see the beach. Everything we can do around Southern California, we're trying to get it all in before we take off on our next adventure. So we like to take those Fridays, we like to go, we like to do, we like to see, and we are learning so much when we go and explore. So yes, we do have a time and place for our normal schooling and our traditional schooling, but we really do love to spend time outside and just love to learn by doing. So if you have any questions, I'd love to answer them. I'd love to chat with you about homeschooling if that's something that you're thinking about doing in the future, or if you have any other questions in regards to anything having to do with homeschooling or tiny living, I'd be happy to answer those. Just comment down in the comments below and I'll get to those as quickly as I can. I'd love for you to subscribe so that we can keep in touch, and a like is always a great compliment to us and we really appreciate it. So I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.